Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Looking for these better days.
It is Tuesday, August 4th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. Yesterday, the Major League Baseball trade deadline saw a flurry of moves. We'll talk about who got better, who got worse, and the adjusted odds according to the sports books. Plus, we continue our 32 and 32 NFL team previews with today's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Joining me now on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel, is Angelo Maglioka. You check him out on Sportsline. You see him on CBS Sports HQ all the time, and he is great when it comes to breaking down Major League Baseball. So, Angelo, let's start with the trade deadline. Obviously, the biggest headline prior to yesterday was Tarik Skubal to the Dodgers. Plenty of reaction. A lot of people angry about the Dodgers getting better, the rich getting richer. The point of contention that I had with this deal is that the Dodgers didn't give up any of their top four prospects. And I just don't see how any team in Major League Baseball can acquire a player of Tarik Skubal's caliber without giving up one of your top four prospects. But that's what the Dodgers were able to pull off. What was your reaction?
Well, they're able to do that because it's kind of like it's that rental that Tigers know that they're likely not to retain him. I get all of that. But what I think more about this move that matters to me, the thing that I'm thinking about is this is almost like the Dodgers getting in early on Tarik Skubal because now they can try to extend him, get him grandfathered in before the new CBA. They don't have to deal with any of the new rules and regulations that are going to be coming down after this season ends, whereas they wouldn't have been able to do that if one of their competitors would have signed him. So I think that was maybe the biggest thing where some teams probably weren't always thinking about that angle of make it hurt for the Dodgers. If they want to sign Skubal after this, which Skubal already said he wanted to be a Dodger and he was going to go there, make it hurt where now you have to deal with the new CBA and sign him after we've had him for the rest of the year. Not to mention you get him through the playoffs. So I thought the Brewers should have gone for it. We saw them make some other moves for pitchers that, I don't dislike, but taking Skubal would have been not only great for them, but it would have hurt the Dodgers much more in the end contract-wise. I don't think many people were actually thinking about that. So I think they get an extension done probably rather quickly and just try to be done with this.
Yeah, I would assume that that's going to be what happens here. Dodgers up on FanDuel plus 160 to win the World Series. Quite the gap between them and the New York Yankees, who are your second favorite at plus 600. And Brian Cashman, there's a lot to be said about Cashman at the deadline here, Angelo. They did make a couple of moves, right? You get Luis Garcia, who's a big bat, right? Eliot Ramos, right? Another, bat as well. Okay. They didn't get Mason Miller, which every Yankee fan wanted as the prized, possession there at the back end of the bullpen. And maybe they needed another bat, maybe a catcher. A lot of people thought the Yankees were going to be in on Ryan Jeffers or another catcher. They did not pull the trigger on a deal there. But we know as Yankee fans, Angelo, we're going to get that Brian Cashman press conference where he's going to say, well, once we get Aaron Judge back, it's like trading for the best player in Major League Baseball. Once we get Giancarlo Stanton back, it's like trading for one of the best power hitters in Major League Baseball. So he's going to, and once we get Clark Schmidt back, it's like trading for an elite arm in the bullpen. Like he's going to pull that stuff during his press conference to make Yankee fans understand why he wasn't as active as they hoped he would be here at the deadline.
Yeah, I saw it posted somewhere. I actually didn't corroborate it, but it seems correct that this is the first deadline since 2019 where Cashman hasn't acquired a reliever. And we both know that just seems like what they do every year. They go out, they get some reinforcements for the bullpen. Even a guy like Jake Bird last year, right? Like random guys who've kind of been good on the Rockies or wherever. They come in, the Yankees have found some way to retool them or, kind of hone in on one specific pitch and make it really good. We saw them do that with Clay Holmes, right? He just became elite once he came to the Yankees and they kind of toyed around with him. Well, usually that's what they do. They didn't do that this year. And I think to your point, Brian Cashman will say, well, you have Will Warren that's going to go to the bullpen now. You have Ryan Weathers, who's going to go to the bullpen and be a lefty specialist. And you're going to have guys that are still out there like Tim Hill from the left side and Brent Hedrick. So, those guys you've got to ride when they're having good seasons. And you get Clark Schmidt back. He'll probably out there in the bullpen. You've got these really great, I know Cam Schlittler's already slipped up a little bit here tonight, but you've got these really great starting pitchers at the top who, they did need some help in the back end of the bullpen. He didn't go and get any of those guys. I think it's much more that he just thinks these starting pitchers are now going to be used as relievers somewhere down the line. And maybe you get Carlos LaGrange back from, the minors and back healthy, and you have some other guys you can put in there. So that was the most telling thing for me, was that this is really the first deadline I could remember in years where Cashman didn't go out and get some kind of reinforcements for the bullpen. I can be okay with not getting Ryan Jeffers because he didn't move. So
Yeah.
I guess all the teams kind of decided the price was too high. But thinking about Ali Sanchez catching big innings in the playoffs is already making me squirm. Austin Wells, obviously, he's got to pick it up. I think it probably means, and what we've heard, Ben Rice is going to catch some. I think it probably does mean that. I think they're serious about Ben Rice catching at least a little bit and helping out with lineup flexibility. And then, furthermore, yes, you get guys like Aaron Judge back and, all these big hitters, but Luis Garcia is a massive help. The only thing that I hate to see, and I know they're going to do this, they're going to platoon him with Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's going to hit against the left-handed pitchers, and Garcia is going to hit against the righties. You bring in Ramos. That's just another platoon bench guy where he's going to play against the lefties. OPS, I think, almost to 900 against lefties, but he's not going to see an at-bat against a righty. He doesn't defend well. He's slow. Like there's so many pieces that you can kind of hate about them. So that really just seems like what Cashman did. He got some platoon help. The prices were high everywhere else. He said, we got some guys coming back from injury. Our pitching is good. We'll deal with it. I hate that that's the way it went, but it seems like that's the storyline here for the Yankees.
So odds up on FanDuel right now to win the American League East. The Rays are the favorite at -105. Yankees second favorite at +145. And then the Red Sox at +450. At the time of us recording this pod here on Monday evening, the Rays 2.5 games up on the Yankees, 5 games up on the Red Sox. Rays helped out their rotation. They got Freddie Peralta from the Mets, amongst others. And if you think that helps their rotation, okay. But the Red Sox bring in Adley Rutschman. And when healthy, we know the caliber of player that he could be. Is there an argument to be made that the Red Sox and maybe the Rays had better deadlines here than the Yankees? And there's a lot to like about those teams and their prospects moving forward as opposed to the Yankees?
I think the Rays had the clear best deadline. I mean, getting Freddie Peralta, throwing in Liam Hicks at the end of it there. That's another, bat that I can just see causing nightmares for the Yankees in the postseason. I can already see Liam Hicks working a big at bat and getting a big hit somewhere. Like it's going to happen. The Yankees didn't go out and get a grinder like that, a guy that can really wear somebody down. Yeah, they got some sluggers, and I love the move for Luis Garcia. They love to do that where you get a guy who's controllable for at least another year. So you get him next year too. That's big. I do like that. But you got to think about right now, and the Yankees just did not make moves for right now, in my opinion, where the Red Sox did, going and getting Adley. I get it. You can say what you want about Adley and the decline and the this and the that. He's still going to be a major upgrade for them. I mean, you saw them ship out Carlos Narvaez, who was pretty much just a strikeout hole in their lineup. Now you get the guy that's got the flexibility of switch hitting. You can, kind of lean on his defense a little bit. We'll see what happens there with him behind the plate. But I do like the moves for the Red Sox, and getting, Ranger Suarez back off the IL recently is another big one for them. So that helps the Red Sox. I think if you're looking to bet, it's probably the Rays, in my opinion, first. And just looking at them, even just up here on, a couple of different sports books, you can get Rays just to make the ALCS. They don't have to win it, but just to make it, that's plus 200 right now. And honestly, I think they're going to win the East at this point. I like the moves they made. I don't think these Yankees injuries come back as soon as we think. Judge, Stanton, Bellinger, and I could just see them kind of floundering a little bit and saying, you know what, we're going to finish as either the first or second wild card team. We're shoo-ins to make the playoffs. It is what it is. We've had some injuries, and they're going to try to win from there. The Rays, I think, then can very easily take the East. You're going to get the bye, probably the number 1 seed, and then at that point, you're going to be looking at, facing the worst wild card team after coming out of a bye. You've got to win that one series, and then you're going to cash 2-1 if you win that series. So I think that could be a nice spot to bet, 2-1 for the Rays just to make the ALCS. Don't even have to worry about winning it.
Yeah, I was looking at the National League, and the Phillies to make the NLCS are plus 450. Now, I've been talking about the Phillies for months now about how I thought at the deadline we'd get Dombrowski being super aggressive because we know how old this roster is, right? Luis Ariz is a great addition because they needed somebody at the top of the lineup. Trey Turner was not getting it done, setting the table. Luis Ariz is that guy. I just don't know, though, how it's going to work out with all of this shuffling of the roster, right? Like, and what I mean by that is like the positions. Bryce Harper's now moving to the outfield. Okay, he was an outfielder, but to save his arm after the surgeries, right? He goes and plays first base, and he became like a Gold Glove caliber first baseman. Now he's going to go back into the outfield. Alec Boehm now becomes your first baseman. So from third to first, Stott goes from second to third, and then Arise goes to second. It's a lot of moving parts. I've always said this whenever I'm like coaching teams or whatever, or, just talking about player, when you have to make changes to a roster, whether it's little league, whether it's adult competitive softball, whether it's the professional NFL or pro baseball, whatever it is, I want as little moving parts as possible. I'd rather just replace one player. Okay. Your second baseman gets hurt, you replace your second baseman. When you start now shuffling 4 to 5 different pieces around to accommodate for one change, I don't know if that's going to have a disruption or some sort of a negative effect here on the Philadelphia Phillies. It worries me a bit, but also plus 450 is very attractive for them just to make the league championship series because I do believe they are a playoff team.
Yeah, I do too. And, looking at that price there, they have the top end pitching to just roll over a team in the playoffs, right? Like you can throw out Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez, and at that point you're looking at them and you're like, damn, we're up 2-0, like with ease here because we've just held your offense off the board with a couple stud pitchers. They added to the bullpen. They needed to, but they still have a elite closer, in my opinion, in Duran at the back end there. Like that always helps to cut games short. They can match up with some lefties and righties out of the bullpen. So I got to say, I am much higher on the Phillies now than I was to begin the season. I really was worried about Wheeler, worried about some of their age with these batters. But I got to say, getting a rise, in my opinion, really helps out their lineup. And also, too, if you look here, so in 2026, this season, obviously, Arise hasn't played any first base. But if you look at last year, he started 112 games at first base.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wasn't bad. Like, I think they may actually try to sub him in a little bit to first base here. And like you're saying, remove the extra moving parts. Try to see if you can make it work with him at first base. Maybe you have Harper in at first base and now you DH Arise a day here or there. Try to figure out a day that Schwarber's not going to be in the lineup. And, they're going to have to move things around. And, Arise, I'm sure, you give Stott a day off. Like this is almost what the Yankees did a few years ago, if you remember. It might have been last year even, where they had like the merry-go-round of guys getting a day off.
Yeah.
Right. And okay, now it's third base. Now it's the shortstop. Now it's the second baseman. Because they had very similarly guys that could play a bunch of different positions. So I could see something like that happening. And you've got like 50 games left. They'll make it work. It's much more important to have him in their lineup here. I like Arise. I really do. So I think that's a great move for them. And yeah, I'm much higher on the Phillies than I was to start the season. So plus 450 just to make it there. The only tough thing is the Braves are probably going to win this division. I guess I'll leave it at probably.
Yep.
But they are up 8 games. So it's going to have to be an implosion for them to take the division. So they're going to have to come out of the wild card. They're going to have to win a couple of series to cash the plus 450, but I still do like it.
Yep. And then just lose to the Dodgers in the LCS. We're fine with that. Just cash the plus 450 there on the Phillies. All right, Angelo, before we let you go, non-trade deadline talk here. You are going to be contributing some free plays here to betterday.com. So for Better Day Insider and Premium members and just anybody, the public that just follows us up on betterday.com or the brand new Better Day mobile app, if you subscribe for free, you have access to the daily newsletter, of course, that gets released every single morning. And Angelo is going to be providing some free plays for Major League Baseball moving forward as we go throughout the rest of this season into the World Series. You were telling me about a niche market that you love attacking, and you could do this up on the FanDuel Sportsbook, actually, and that is the plate appearance bets, and specifically the first plate appearance of the game. Tell me about the actual bets and your process for making these wagers and how it's worked out for you so far this season.
Yeah, so the strikeout lines and these strikeout props have become increasingly popular year after year. And I got to say, I think the strikeout markets are among some of the sharpest that are out there, truthfully, for baseball betting. The pitcher strikeout markets get bet a ton. And so over the last couple of years now, I've really seen those markets get a lot sharper and honestly get pushed up a little bit. I like playing the overs, and I've seen a lot of these numbers, at least this year, like they all seem to be maybe one strikeout too high. And so it kind of has forced me to start to look to other areas. And I really started to hone in on the first plate appearance market, is what they call it on FanDuel. It's listed under plate appearance. And generally, the lines open up once the lineup is confirmed. So you may not see it there, 6, 7, 8 hours before game time, but 2 or 3 hours before game time, a lot of times then they'll show up. And what we're looking at really is just a lot of times pitchers who have some kind of platoon advantage. So a good example might be Cam Schlittler here tonight. You're looking at maybe a 22 to 25% strikeout rate against righties, but against left-handed batters, that jumps all the way up now, even of late for Cam Schlittler, to like 30%. And for him of late, it's actually closer to 40% in his last 84 plate appearances against lefties. It's over 40% strikeout rate. But on the season, it's 33%. Whereas, like I said, righties is 22 to 25%. So then you look at a lineup maybe here like tonight in the Cardinals, who they don't have a ton of lefties that strike out a lot. So we don't have a ton of options, but there is Jimmy Crooks towards the bottom of the lineup, who's a 30+% strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers. So stuff like that, starting to hone in on a guy who may really struggle in a left-on-left matchup and a guy like a Jesus Luzardo that's really good against those lefties for strikeouts, and then taking those pieces and looking for the plate appearances, because we're getting plus 180 on these, plus 200, plus 150. Like these are some prices to where now on the season, I'm looking at like 40% ROI so far, just because a lot of the times these prices are truthfully, just in my opinion, great. I could even see sometimes saying, hey, this is a negative EV bet. It should be priced X, Y, or Z, because you are betting on the exact result of something happening. But we've had a lot of success just honing in on the fact that the way baseball goes now, these guys are striking out more than ever.
Yeah.
And they're getting paid on big damage. They're getting paid on home runs and driving runs in, and teams do not care as much about high strikeout numbers. So it's okay to take bigger swings. It's okay to swing for the fences and try to drive these runs in instead of being a scrappy little singles hitter, because look at Luis Arraez is that kind of guy, and he's not a guy that's commanding all of this money or commanding all these huge prospect names. He's a great addition to a lineup for the Phillies, but he isn't that big slugger like a Kyle Schwarber that's going to go out there and demand $50 million a year. Like, that is the way baseball has gone. So I think the strikeouts in particular are actually a bit undervalued, even if sometimes you may think it's a negative EV bet. They've worked out perfectly fine for us, especially when looking at those platoon advantages for the pitcher and hitters that struggle against that pitcher's handedness. So we'll be providing some of those for you. And yeah, it's been a good season so far, and I'm excited to keep it going.
I love it. And we can't wait to get more of your contributions up on betterday.com and on the Better Day mobile app as well, and here on the podcast. I think my brain's just spinning about ways to handicap this market as well. I mean, you could look at a pitcher's stats the first time through a lineup, and see who really does well the first plate appearance of a game. You can look at the batter's numbers, the first plate appearance of the game, who struggles. My wheels are spinning right now. I can't wait to jump into this market.
And like you said there, what about a night like tonight where, and I got to say, right, Schlittler got hit up a little bit, but these Cardinals have never seen him. Yeah. And when you get these interleague matchups where you've maybe never seen a guy, you don't have a ton of video, or, there's not a ton of benchmarks to look at. That's another one where maybe that first time through, you struggle a little bit. I mean, we saw Quinn Matthews this past Saturday. Even though Dalton Varsho has actually been significantly better in the left-on-left matchup for strikeouts this year, he's still a lefty, and Matthews has been great against lefties in the minors as coming up as a rookie in his debut. I played that when it was plus 360 for a strikeout, and he still did strike out. So just sometimes you get the familiarity or the lack thereof that can really help you out that first time through. I think there's definitely a lot of angles. And then they stay up live, So you can bet with like a guy like Mason Miller on the mound, where if you know he's coming in a little bit ahead of time, you can bet those strikeouts for the team coming up against him. And now you've got relievers out there with really great strikeout stuff, and they only need to get a few outs, so they kind of go 100% the whole time. So there's multiple ways to attack this market. Like you said, it's a lot of fun.
I absolutely love it. We absolutely love your contributions as well. Tell everybody where they can find you and where they can watch you and listen to you as well on Sportsline.
Yeah, sportsline.com. Under the experts tab, we do all kind of MLB analysis there, articles posted on not only sportsline.com, but cbssports.com as well. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I have an article each day on cbssports.com. And then in the Sportsline Discord, that's where I drop usually every single day, 5, 6, 7 of these first at bat strikeout plays. And that's been going great. So I think it's just discord.gg/sportsline, but that'll be up on the Sportsline website if you go there.
Awesome. And then on Twitter as well, what's your handle for everyone to follow?
Twitter at AmagsPicks. Same thing on my YouTube at AmagsPicks. So kind of keep that handle across the board. But yeah, I love interacting with people on Twitter. Shoot me your questions and comments in a tweet over a DM. I always tell people that because I can't share the DM.
Yeah.
Whereas if you tweet it at me, I can share it out and say, I love this play. This is a great angle. So there we go.
Love it. Mags will be with us as we progress throughout the remainder of this Major League Baseball season into the postseason and through the World Series. So be on the lookout there. Coming up next, we will get into our 32 in 32 preview of the Jacksonville Jaguars here on Better Day. We continue our 32 in 32 NFL team previews with today's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, as we continue to run through the AFC South. Speaking of the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who won the division last year in one of the more successful seasons that they've had in their first year under Liam Cohn, who, by the way, finished second behind Mike Vrabel in Coach of the Year voting. Jags plus 245, the second favorite to win the AFC South. A win total of 8.5 this season, minus 142 the over. The Jags are minus 102 up on FanDuel to make the playoffs, 27-1 to win the Super Bowl, and Trevor Lawrence, 20-1 to win the NFL MVP award. I mentioned last season, 13 wins. What a great year it was for the Jags. But if you break things down, Jacksonville might have gotten the lucky bounce or two, right? They had a massive turnover differential, which is it's not predictive of future success, right? They also had a soft schedule last year. And, you know, they go up against the Bills and gave them a tough test in that wild card game, but eventually gave up a late drive to Josh Allen and lose that game. And there are question marks with this team going into this season. First off, on offense, like how's it going to work this year with Travis Etienne is gone, right? Chris Rodriguez comes in to take over at running back. And yes, he's familiar with Liam Cohn's system from his days at Kentucky, right? But he's oft injured. And so Bayshell Tootin might be in the mix to get more carries this year as well. So maybe the Jags will be more of a physical running team. Liam Cohn has mentioned that they want to play more multiple tight end sets, which is something like the whole NFL is just doing now. Everyone wants to play more multiple tight end sets. But if that's going to be the case, like how's Trevor Lawrence and the passing game going to look if there's more tight ends on the field? Does that mean less run for Brian Thomas? Does Brian Thomas take a step forward again and regain his standings as one of the top wide receivers in the NFL entering his third year? He's healthy now, which is a huge bonus because last year he wasn't. And boy, what a drop off he had last year from where he was in his rookie season. But maybe this is a bounce back season for Brian Thomas. Will Travis Hunter play on offense? I think that is a really important question for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've already said that Travis Hunter is going to be their number one cornerback. So he's starting on defense. But will they use him on offense if, in fact, the Jags are using more multiple tight end sets? They drafted 2 tight ends in the draft, and they have a bunch of wide receivers that they already need to find, time for on the field. So maybe we don't even see Travis Hunter play a ton of offense this year. I mentioned the Jags' schedule last year. It is more difficult this year. Just how difficult is it? Well, according to our Trench Report strength of schedules, even though the Jaguars rank as the 10th overall trench team in our preseason rankings, so that's pretty good overall, right? The Jags in our strength of schedule metric, again, this is just looking at our preseason trench report. The Jags have the 5th most difficult trench schedule in the NFL, which has me leaning towards the under 8.5 wins, and you get that at plus money right now. So looking at their schedule, you start off at home against Cleveland. You go to Denver right away, difficult game, right? You play the Patriots, and then later in October, you have the back-to-back weeks in London. While those are good games historically for the Jaguars because they're accustomed to the trip, the opponents are not going to be easy to handle by playing the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans in those back-to-back weeks. And then there's a stretch of 3 consecutive road games where you go to Baltimore, at Tennessee, then at the Giants, road games at Chicago and at Dallas late in the year. This is not an easy schedule by any stretch. And I've talked earlier about how high I am on the Houston Texans. I think the Titans are improved this year. We'll get to them eventually. But I just think that the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off of an incredible season last year, 13 wins, is going to take some major regression this year. I think it's the under 8.5 is the play for me at plus money. I could see this being a mediocre team finishing 8-9 this year. And that's not really a knock on the Jags because there is talent on this roster. I just think that there might be some recency bias into, last year's success under Liam Cohn. And a lot of it, I feel, had to do with the ease of the schedule and a lot of turnover luck. If you just look at turnovers last year, the Jags had the second most takeaways in the NFL at 31. They were a plus 13 in the turnover differential, which was the 3rd best margin in the entire NFL. I don't see how you replicate that. Defensively, while there are still pieces here on the Jaguars that can make them a formidable team, you lose all-pro linebacker Devin Lloyd, who signed with the Carolina Panthers in free agency. If you look at the returning production on defense in our preseason trench report, we have the Jaguars as the 6th highest rated run defense, but their pass rush drops to number 22. Their offensive line grades out pretty well in pass protection, ranking number 12, but in run blocking, the Jaguars ranking 22nd. So overall, decent grades, the 10th best trench team in our report. But as I mentioned earlier about the strength of schedule, the matchups just aren't good for them. A very difficult trench schedule as they play a lot of teams that will have the edge over them on a week-to-week basis. Based on that, once again, I'm going with the under 8.5 wins for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got the Houston Texans winning this division, and I think we see improvements from the Tennessee Titans and a feisty Indianapolis Colts team. That'll wrap up this episode of Better Day. My thanks again to Angelo Maglioca, who will be joining us some more as we progress throughout the remainder of the Major League Baseball season. He'll have some free play write-ups up on betterday.com as well and on the Better Day mobile app. If you haven't done so already, download the Better Day mobile app and become a Better Day Insider or Premium member. We are running a new app promo for half off your first month of Better Day Premium. The link will be in today's newsletter. We also tweeted out yesterday our podcast schedule that we talked about yesterday. I will put that graphic in today's newsletter as well, so you guys can check that out and make sure that you are subscribed to us on YouTube, as we will be engaging in videos starting in a couple of weeks. And of course, follow us on Twitter as well at better_day. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.